What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show live here on DSM-Media Philadelphia YouTube channel. Guys, first and foremost, if you are new to the channel, make sure to do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. It's the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with your host. I'm one half of them this morning, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. The Sixers take one out on the West Coast. What are our thoughts overall about the road trip? What are our thoughts about Joel Embiid hopefully returning here in a few weeks and getting back in time for the postseason?
Please.
What were these pieces right now that maybe don't look good enough on a basketball floor? What could they look like surrounding number 21? And will that product be good enough for the Sixers to possibly advance in the NBA postseason? Johan Rojas, it sounds like, has won the opening day center field starting job. We're going to talk about that, Scotty. And March Madness weekend one, the first two rounds complete. Sweet 16 Thursday and Friday night. Super, super chalky for the most part. And we're going to talk about, is that a good thing? I've seen a lot of conversation on social media, on TikTok, other podcasts, talking about how great these games are versus and the lack of upsets that probably occurred through the first weekend because of this chalk. And we're going to talk about if you think that's a good thing or not moving forward in the tournament. But my man, happy Tuesday. Stayed up late watching the Sixers come away with a loss in Sacramento. That was the ugliest thing that could have came out of my mouth. Sacramento and staying up late for a loss. But how are you feeling?
No, I'm feeling all right, man. Happy Tuesday it is here. Getting back to it, man. We stayed up for that dreadful game last night. I actually, at one point turned it off. Mind you, I had like this bet. It's been a dry gambling slate with no college basketball.
Yesterday, today, tomorrow.
So I took advantage of this boost for women's college basketball. It was Iowa to win by 10 and USC to win by 10. So I ended up turning on that USC game just to see if they could finish out and cash me out. And they did. So I was excited about that. Man, between Tobias Harris having to watch him play basketball and, watch Domantas Sabonis and the way he just acts throughout a game. Between those two things, it was borderline unbearable to watch at that time of night. I never realized how annoying Domantas Sabonis is. I guess we just don't play the Kings often. I don't remember on the Indiana Pacers, maybe he just wasn't like this until he moved out to California or something, got closer to the acting world. But this dude gets on my last nerves. How can you be a guy that gets involved with so many scuffles and so many physical?
He's always the rebounding that comes out of it.
But yet he comes out of every interaction dude, come on. Well, you're big as hell. You're a big ass beast out there getting triple doubles and 20 rebounds and shit. And all now, Kyle Lowry's elbow is gonna knock you out. You got a concussion now. Why didn't you get checked? It was just corny.
And
but
the real ones remember the fact that while Draymond Green was most certainly in the wrong, Domantas Sabonis, it's not like he did nothing to get a foot to the chest in that moment. So let's not forget that, man. But it was a rough watch last night. The first half, I was texting you back and forth. I think it was 38-38 or 38-36 at the time. And it's like, if they can just stick around, they can hang around. The way Maxey played in that first quarter, dropping 21. This could be a special Tyrese Maxey night and a huge win for the Sixers. And unfortunately, the Kings just started to pull away later on in that second quarter. And the Sixers really kind of never regained their footing, and they were always kind of an 8 to 10 plus point deficit. They lose by 12 last night. But you started off by mentioning Tobias Harris playing basketball, so we'll start there with last night's game. But I'm going to start with something else as well, man. Tyrese Maxey, right? And this is not. I am not
to see where you go here, because I
am not throwing stones at Tyrese Maxey, right? He's not to blame for what happened, but I'm just confused whether this is a personal problem with Tyrese Maxey, whether it's a Nick Nurse issue. I don't know what it is, okay? The man gives you 21 points in the first quarter. Now, I didn't look at how many shots he took in the first quarter. To score 21, I think he only shot 3 free throws. That's 3 points, 18. He hit 2 threes. He took close to double-digit shots probably in the first quarter.
Yeah.
8, 9, 10, something like that, right?
Yeah.
How do you finish with 29 points on 16 shots? And you didn't get, like, blown out where you didn't play in the third and fourth quarters. You only lost
played
by
most
12.
of the fourth quarter even.
You
Yeah.
played 35 minutes. You led the team. How do you finish with 29 on 16 shots? The 29 is not my issue, Scotty. It's the 10 for 16.
Yeah.
Tobias Harris, who you mentioned to tie this together, Tobias Harris played 9 less minutes and took 1 less shot than Tyrese Maxey, and he was 5 for 15.
That'll make you rip your hair out.
Either way you slice it, that's a problem. Whether it's a Tyrese Maxey, I don't even know how you can describe him as being shy when he goes off like he did in the first quarter. I don't know the backseat mindset he takes, whether it's Nick Nurse or whoever else.
Yeah,
for
I'm curious.
Crazy-ass reason, wanting to spread the ball around or getting Tobias looks. Those numbers should not equate last night. They should not be in the realm of. I mean, Scotty, Campaign came off the bench, played 10 less minutes. He took 10 shots.
Yeah. 5 3-point shots.
Other guys are, when Kelly Oubre Jr. is in the game, when he's playing, Kelly Oubre Jr. is taking 20 plus shots per night almost. So whether this is a Tyrese Maxey thing, a Nick Nurse thing, a combination of the two, something needs to get fixed because, man, I can't help but think if he stayed aggressive, this is a different ballgame. Do they win? Yeah. Probably still not. He needed more help.
Though.
But you don't know what the second half looks like if he stays like he was in the first quarter.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And as we were talking through the first part of this show, that clicked in my head, and it is something I wanted to bring to you. So I'm glad you brought it up as well, because I'm a guy that is gonna wave the flag for Tyrese Maxey. I'm a stand to an extent, but this is something that I feel like does happen like often. Like we'll have a monster quarter. Sometimes it's not the first quarter, right? And I don't know if it's him getting tired or what the case may be, but at a certain point, you got to read the room and understand that you can't defer to Buddy Hield, to Kyle Lowry, to Campaign, to Tobias Harris. You don't defer to any of these guys. You are the number one right now. And like you said, I don't know if that's a hierarchy that is not established with like Nick Nurse down. Like this guy should be the first look on offense as we run the offense. Like I'm just not sure how it works because I'm watching last night. There was a certain point in the game where I watched like 4 possessions in a row, right? And the lineup is Kyle Lowry, Campaign, Buddy Hield, Tobias Harris, and maybe like a Mo Bamba or something, right? Like, and so I watched the possessions and how they're running the set plays. And so the first one is Tobias Harris set play, try to get him a shot, right? Get him in isolation, mid-range. Fine, whatever, fine. Then the next 2 possessions, they go to set plays to try to get like a switch set up between Campaign and Kyle Lowry and setting the play up there to like get Campaign an open shot. And you have Buddy Hield on the court. And mind you, Buddy Hield, he's not playing well. There's just something off. There's something completely off there compared to what it looked like at first. 0 for 6 from the 3-point line. But what I'm trying to get at is like there were no plays set up for Buddy Hield. There's no looks. There's no like backdoor
your best pure shooter.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense for me. Like even especially in a night like against the Sacramento Kings, where that's a former team of his. There's a little bit of an edge there that you can approach that with if your buddy. It just didn't even tap into that. Tyrese Maxey in the first quarter, you mentioned it, scores the like 20 points. He hits massive amount of threes. And then the rest of the game, he's basically an afterthought in the game. And I am curious. Is that Nick Nurse? Is that the team? Is that Tobias Harris? Like, I've got to step up and, like, be that guy beside Maxey and make the plays to help him out. Like, I don't know what it is, but, like, Joel Embiid isn't here. So, Tyrese Maxey, you need to stop. Like, even the 5 for 7 3-point attempts, 5 makes, right? You're 5 for 7, man.
Shoot the fucking ball.
Get 10 up for us tonight. 12.
We just talked about Buddy Hield not making one. Buddy Hield slang 6 of those things.
He still shoots them. Yeah, get him up.
So he took 1 less and you made 5 more. Shoot the rock, man. I know this sounds like we're coming down maybe harsh on Tyrese Maxey, but honestly, like I'm trying to be honest with you, because it is unacceptable to a point. Like, dude, you are missing Joel Embiid. And further than that, you are missing your starting guard in DeAnthony Melton. Last night, you were missing Kelly Oubre Jr., who had been your running mate, who had been the guy not afraid to take shots and get to the rim and try to score on in the half court. So for him to I don't know, to shy away last night can't happen.
I could understand if he's like getting tired throughout a game and it's a game where he's like going to the rack and he's getting fouled and, getting to the free throw line physically. I can understand it to an extent there, but he's hitting 3-point shot. Like, you're hot from the 3-point line.
Yeah,
just shoot it.
If you're going to see that fatigue, you'd see it like, okay, he started 10 of 16 or 10 of 14, whatever it was. Yeah. And then the legs started to wear on him, so he's short from deep, and
but he's not even getting it up
in the drain. He's not even attempting to score at this point, man. So I don't know. I can't just look past that when this team's trying to make a run, and that might not be a Tyrese Maxey problem. Yeah. But if whoever it is, like I know before the broadcast of the Heat game, possibly, I forget what night it was, but the broadcast was talking about how Nick Nurse had mentioned, he wants Maxey to be taking over 20 shots a game right now without Joel on the floor. And it's like, well, if that's true, like,
doesn't seem
in the
like
middle of this game, at some point, don't you have to get in his ear and say, enough?
We need
enough deferring. Like, you go. It's your time.
We need you. Like, it's one thing if it's a team, that you have like no chance against, right? Like, it's the Denver Nuggets or something on the road in Denver, right? Like, all right, we just take these on the chin and we move on. But it's the Sacramento Kings, man. If you come out and you're aggressive, specifically in the second half, because that's where he like basically disappeared, right? Yeah. If you come out and you play aggressive, keep this team in the game, maybe that opens up the lane for another guy to get hot and also keep you in the game, right? Like, they put guys in last night that gave you energy, like Ricky Council, the DJ Wilsons of the world. They come in, give you energy, give you good minutes. You just had nothing to go along with these like singled out performances, if that makes sense. But yeah, Maxey's got to be better. What I came to the conclusion of last night, ultimately, and obviously throughout this West Coast trip, and obviously we've been here since Embiid went down, but like, God, just get Embiid back. Like, if you ever like needed like a moment to imagine what life would be like without Joel Embiid on the Sixers, like if we've had discussions in the past, like his injury history, is he willing to play his entire career as a Sixer? Dude, save it. Like, I don't want to watch this team without Joel Embiid. I don't want to watch it. Yeah, like, it is painful to watch. Yeah. It's a bother. It's a bother to watch.
Can I ask
you?
That's
how good he is. Like, that's how great Embiid is. He makes these other guys look like half decent basketball players.
Well, that right there is kind of why I'm so confused down the stretch. Now, the West Coast trip, whatever, right? Like, somehow you won the game against the Clippers. Somehow you beat Kawhi Leonard, Paul George.
These guys are so inconsistent, though.
You go 1-3 out west. You've lost like 5 of your last 7 or so, or 5 of your last 8 games. They still have NBA talent on this roster, Scott. Like, this is where me and you we were talking about the Brooklyn loss and the Memphis loss. Like, what
they do, man.
It's like that. That's when I start to look at Nick Nurse for a second, because it's like, these other teams have no business winning basketball games, and they don't win many of them. I'm like, these aren't teams fighting for playoff spots, but they still somehow win a third of their games, right? They go 20-something and 50-something, right?
Look at the Hawks last night, for example. The Atlanta Hawks without Trae Young beat Boston.
Yeah. Now, Boston didn't have Drew Holiday and Derek White, but still. And by the way, that was a 30-point Boston lead.
That's a major collapse.
That's another issue in the NBA that we can discuss another time, because that should just never. It shouldn't even be physically possible to occur. But anyway, like, I don't understand how these teams can win a third of their games, and we look like we don't belong in a fifth of our games. Yeah, and you have Tyrese Maxey, you have Kelly Oubre Jr. on most nights. You have Nico Batum. You have Campaign. You have Tobias. Like, you have NBA players. Some of these teams don't. And you look the way you did sometimes.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. It just begs the question, like, you look at the Sacramento Kings last night, what do they have on their roster? They have De'Aaron Fox, who you can argue Tyrese Maxey can match that. He did match it. He played better than De'Aaron Fox last night, even with only playing like a quarter of the game, basically. He played better than De'Aaron Fox last night. So then you look at who's next in line for each of these teams, and I know it's crazy the way things have turned out with Embiid out. It feels like Oubre is like the number 2 guy on this team right now when it comes to scoring the basketball. But Tobias Harris, he is like that guy. Like, he is the $37 million guy that is supposed to match Domantas Sabonis. Now, it doesn't mean that he gets down there in the trenches and meddles it up with the rebounding and stuff. He just does his own version, right? He plays his game to the fullest. He gives us 18 points last night or 20 points on decent shooting beside Maxey. He didn't do that. He gave us the worst version of Tobias Harris, the Tobias Harris who misses the tap-in layup, right? The alley-oop. Yeah. You are fucking 6'9", my man.
I'm so tired of it. I texted that to you last night after the one guy.
He looks like a guy that doesn't want to play for us, man, and that's fine. We've totally turned the table on him. Just sit him. Like, that's where I'm at with this guy.
Yeah, it's
But then you see him against the Clippers.
Yeah, I know.
That's part of the reason you won that game is Tobias.
Yeah. I don't know what his deal is from a consistency standpoint. And like, because at times you could say the effort, right? The emotion, and he looks like he doesn't want, if he belongs here anymore. But like, you have a shooting night like you do against the Clippers, and then you shoot 5 of 15 last night.
Yeah.
That's the part I don't understand. Like that, and this is a guy that tried to tell a friend he's a shooter.
Yeah.
This is a guy that's supposed to be a consistent NBA scorer, and he's the furthest thing from it. This is a guy that was taking on teams' best wing players defensively last postseason, and he looks like he doesn't belong on that side of the floor at times. He doesn't hustle at the rebounds. That's whatever. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole of what this team's issues, but like, dude, Mo Bamba went after a rebound last night, like he bent over to try to pick up a ball and moved like he was fucking ET or something. Like, he moved so incredibly slow. There's no effort from this team. And I don't understand it, because then I see them on social media, and even through the injuries, they still seem very close-knit, right? Like, they're goofy pictures, and they got the robe out and the King's crown. They're doing all this stuff. They're very fun together. They're dancing in warm-ups. They seem cool still. But then you put them all on a basketball floor together, and it looks like nobody wants to be here when Joel's not here.
Tobias yelling at Mo Bamba constantly, right? Like, arguments on the court. It's goofy, man. It's real funny how it's been playing out. I just wonder what the locker room is like right now currently. Because
let me ask you this:
are they just waiting like us for Joel Embiid? Is that what's going on? Like, everybody's just waiting for Joel Embiid to come through the door?
But then that's a fucking problem. That's a culture problem. That's a coaching problem. It's a mental problem.
Absolutely.
I'll ask you this though, because a conversation I kind of started last weekend with you that people were having with this team playing so poorly was, is it even worth it to bring Joel back? And for a second, I said to you, man, if they're the 9 or 10 seed and they have to win 2 games in the play-in to get the 8 seed, all to play Boston when they have home court advantage, like, really, if you think about it, is there a point? Yeah. I'm past that now, and I'm to the point where I need Joel to come back. Now, I need Joel to come back for my own sanity. I need Joel to come back so I can watch an actual 76ers basketball game that we've seen in the past 5 years, and watch, have hope that they could just do something on a nightly basis. But I also need Joel to come back to answer all these questions that I'm having, because I'm very, very seesawy right now. I'm back and forth on what I feel about some of these guys. Buddy Hield.
Yeah, same.
The idea of Buddy Hield in a playoff game around Joel Embiid with that spacing next to Tyrese Maxey, the idea of him just standing in the corner or on the wing and getting an outlet pass and just knocking down threes. It's very appealing. It makes you think.
Yeah.
Kyle Lowry, right? Joel has praised him. Kyle Lowry, the veteran leadership, can knock down a wing three or a top of the key three when needed. Playing defense with Joel. I'm looking forward to it. I want to see how all these pieces fit. Batum and Oubre in a playoff setting, right? We love them in the regular season. How do they look in a playoff setting around Joel? I need these questions answered because this is a humongous offseason for Daryl Morey and the Sixers.
Yeah.
And what pieces you're looking to fit around Joel. Does Buddy Hield belong here or not?
Yeah.
Do you give Kelly Oubre the money he's looking for because it's such a perfect match and what he looks like with Joel Embiid? I need these questions answered for my own freaking sanity because I can't take this anymore.
I completely agree. And Alfredo, if I'm saying that incorrectly, Mr. Johnson, let me know. But I agree with what he's saying here. Like, this is the idea. It's just a lot of stagnancy on offense, on everything, right? And it looks like nights where they just
ISO ball, dude.
And they're not ready to play.
Playground basketball, and again, it matters, right? Situations matter. I'm cool with Tyrese Maxey putting his head down and trying to draw contact, like that guy. I'm okay with.
Even Kyle Oubre.
Yeah, Tobias Harris, or God forbid when Paul Reed puts the ball on the floor. And, a Buddy Hield or a Nico Batum is standing open in the corner, and they just put their head down, ignore it, throw something up. It's going the other way. They're bitching for contact. It's like, my man, you're not going to get that whistle.
Even Nicholas Batum, am I tripping when I feel like he takes some ill-advised three-point shots sometimes? Like, I do get it. Because you just need shots to go up.
Yeah, and they're so slim, right? Like, even if he does, he probably only takes like 2 total shots.
2 or 3. He fits in that category where but it is true. You can't just have 3 guys taking all the shots every game. But to your point about Joel Embiid and him coming back and seeing these guys around, I 100% agree. That's what I was saying, like even a couple weeks ago. But I think even now it's to a further extent because we need to see what these guys look like.
Yeah.
Like, how much do you pay Kelly Oubre on an open market? Like, what is he worth?
Yeah.
Right? Because he is, like, eye test. He's better than Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
But Tobias Harris is overpaid by a mile.
Yes.
So what is Kelly Oubre's value?
Kelly's underpaid this year.
He's on a minimum contract right now, right?
So he's underpaid.
Kyle Lowry, what is his value next to Embiid?
At 37, 38 years old already.
38 years old, man.
The other day. So these are questions that have to be answered, like you said. And
Buddy Hield's the biggest one for me, I think.
Getting Joel back, man, that's where everything changes because, obviously it's a dumb statement to make, but I'm kind of going to answer my own question from a couple minutes ago. It's like, how does this team not win games? Scotty, they're at a point where if it's anybody but Maxey taking a shot almost right now, obviously Kelly didn't play last night. If it's anybody but Tyrese Maxey, it almost feels like a bad shot.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. I think that's the answer. They're all just complementary
players,
role pieces.
Yeah.
So, you have Kyle Lowry chucking up a contested 3, hits the side of the rim, they go back, the other team gets a layup in transition, and we're sitting here going, man, what is that offensive possession? How is that the shot? But then you go, well, Tyrese Maxey's on the floor. Who else is shooting the ball?
Who else is going to shoot
Paul Reed putting the ball on the floor, spinning and trying to get a layup over a contested center. How is that the shot? But they don't have anybody else. You put Joel on the floor, man, but know what that does for everybody.
My thing with that, and once again, I'm not trying to the idea of Nick Nurse wasn't to come in here and coach this team. It's to come in and coach Joel Embiid. I do get it.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things when you watch shit that's going on last night. Like I'm just looking at the box score and it's all box score. I get it. But Ricky Council comes in and he gets to the free throw line 6 times in the short amount of time that he's in the game.
Yeah.
Like just coming in and creating that havoc, driving the lane, creating contact, forcing the referee's hands. Like that is the type of stuff that this team needs right now. And I just want to see him try some different things. And I think Ricky Council is part of that. I think all of these guys are a part of it. And I think on given nights, you have to be willing to do that as well. I think that's a big thing. Obviously, on a back-to-back, tail end of a back-to-back night against Sacramento, I'm not pinning anybody against the Cross. on the last game of the West Coast trip. But it's just funny how inconsistent this team has been. It's like, what does this team look like if they just had like a Josh Hart mixed in here that could just be a glue guy until Embiid gets back? We don't have any glue guy, and
I would also beg the question.
We did though.
What is Nick Nurse? What are they doing when it comes to this rotation right now? Right, because even though Joel's not out there and you have guys in now the lineup every night, you still need to kind of be figuring out who deserves minutes down the stretch and who can win you ball games at the moment to even stay in the standings that you are. And to your point, like, I don't understand the Ricky Council issue. I don't understand how he plays 9 minutes to
10 points.
KJ Martin's 19. Okay. I don't understand how Mo Bamba even gets to play anymore.
Why is KJ Martin getting minutes over Ricky Council? Like, seriously.
I don't know, bro. But Scotty, I don't even know who this dude is, and it's a little microcosm of against a bad defense.
DJ Wilson.
This dude, DJ Wilson, they bring in on a 10-day in 14 minutes, gives you 10 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 blocks. He's a +4, efficient shooting, and knocked down 2 threes. But Mo Bamba gives no effort, is an absolute liability on defense. You're 7'2", you're a tree, and you're a liability at the rim and on defense. And he continues to play. I don't understand it. You brought in Kai Jones on a 10-day.
Yeah, he gets 0 minutes in this game.
He's in the G League at first. Now he's up. He doesn't play, but he's on a podcast or an interview talking about how he believes he can win an MVP.
Oh, man. That is interesting, the DJ Wilson thing, man. Obviously, I'm not super familiar with his game, but
familiarity with this dude. But
6'10", shoots the 3-ball. Like, give him a shot.
Yeah, because that's
but
the
I
thing.
thought that's what Nick Nurse did. Like, I thought that's what we saw in Toronto, is that guys did get shot. Like, DJ Wilson played for him in Toronto and got shots in Toronto. There's no Joel Embiid here, so there's no, like, locked in role, right? Like, outside of Tyrese Maxey, each guy should come into these nights and their minutes should be based on the way that they're playing.
Yeah.
Whereas it just feels like guys are like locked into these roles and certain amount of minutes, and I just feel like none of these guys deserve that.
Like, I don't know that, and I mean, you could argue that's been a top 2 issue for them outside of Tobias Harris playing the way he has. Is the backup center position, right? Not having stability there, getting killed on the glass, getting killed at the rim, getting killed in the paint. And it's like, man, you continue to let Mo Bamba start in limited fashion and bring Paul Reed off the bench. But, like, you know, the old me would have laughed at it, right? The old me would have said, okay, let's play DJ Wilson. That's going to fix our problems. It's better than the alternative right now. Like, what are we laughing at? The name? When I tell you I watched the Memphis Grizzlies, I knew 2 guys in their entire rotation when they came to Philadelphia that night. I literally knew 2 players on the floor that night for them.
And they beat us.
And these dudes look like they belong on an NBA floor against the Sixers.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not going to laugh at the idea that DJ Wilson or Kai Jones should get minutes over Mo Bamba and see what they can do. So, I don't know what Nick Nurse needs to do. I don't know what Tyrese Maxey needs to do. I don't know what Tobias Harris. I don't know what they all need to do.
Just tread lightly.
But they can't even do that right now.
I know. I know. They're in such a bad spot, man. But
I mean, Scotty, honestly, dude, I text you. I didn't end up taking it. I was going to take their team total. It was so low at 105.5.
105. They scored 98, I believe.
Well, I didn't take it because I went back, and the Clippers game was an outlier. They scored 121 against the Clippers. Dude, in like 7 of their last 8 of their last 9, they've barely pierced 100.
Yeah.
You had the 2 Knicks games. You had the Heat game. You had this game. You had the Lakers game. They were under 100. Like even they beat the Hornets and barely scored over 100. Yeah. This offense, like, everyone was so focused on how bad the defense was at one point. No, this offense is fucking inept right now.
The defense is actually better than expected.
On the road to a good offensive team.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the crazy part, is the defense isn't suffering right now. It's the offense, and that's the That's the part that, like, why can't we just run like a spread offense? Like Alfredo said, man, like it is honestly, it's almost like basics of basketball. It's like run a spread offense, you get open shots, and guys got to knock down shots. That is part of it. Guys got to knock down shots, which just isn't happening on a night-to-night basis.
Where they come out and just jack threes, and they start 1 for 7 from 3, and they're down 18 to start, and it's like, wow, okay, let's stop that. But
and when you don't have Kelly Oubre, you lose like that penetrable factor that goes in the paint and gets you buckets. So last night, it's like I think we're singling in on last night, but it's really the West Coast trip. It's this time without Embiid as a whole. It's not just last night's game. Of course, last night was a tail end of
last night's game was a perfect example of what's been happening without Joel.
Yeah, it was a microcosm of this entire stretch without Joel Embiid, and that's where I got to last night. Ending this road trip, it's like, man, just get me Joel Embiid back. Let me see some competent basketball be played here in Philadelphia.
Literally, let's move on here in a second before we wrap up the show. Because you got to get off soon. But 4 of their 5 starters combined for 20 points, Scott.
Yeah. Make that make sense.
20 points. 3 of them combined for 8. I mean, that can't happen, okay? And then you have, like, a couple guys come off the bench, KJ Martin, 4 points in 19 minutes. Like, that's not going to win you a goddamn thing in this league. So we'll see what they end up doing. But let's move on. Real
quick before we move on, I just wanted to, because I texted you this before the game yesterday, of course, but it still is that glimmer of hope. Obviously, Embiid returning. They said beginning of April, early April, whatever that means. Sixers are 5 games ahead of the Chicago Bulls for the 8th seed right now. If they could somehow just move into the 7th seed, man, if they could win the play-in tournament and get the 7th seed and play the Bucks first round, I would feel a lot better. I'm not saying that there's any room.
I agree. I said that to you,
season, but
that
would make me feel a lot better.
I'm all down for that matchup. Obviously, there's been instances where
might lose. It is what it is, though. I would take that matchup 100 times.
Where Milwaukee's absolutely throttled us, as of recent. Okay, the end of February on a Sunday afternoon, they came to Philadelphia and absolutely
went nuclear.
But then there's been moments where the Sixers, shorthanded, have gone to Milwaukee and have been winning for 95% of the game.
And it's Doc Rivers.
So we'll see. That's all I would say. That's the matchup. See. Obviously, the goal is just to avoid Boston, right? I mean, you're going to end up seeing Boston at some point, but if you can at least avoid them for the first goddamn round, that would be ideal. So we'll see what they end up.
I agree with that.
But I do agree. It is positive news. And listen, anyone out there, I'm not trying to like name call or pick on you, but honestly, like, why are you so miserable that you're one of the people out there saying to just shut Joel Embiid down for the regular season? No, there's no point. There's no point. Why? Why is there no point? Because, again, I know it seems like so long ago, but when he was out there with not Buddy Hield, with not Campaign, with not Kyle Lowry, with some of the other guys we have now, when he was out there, we were talking about, and you same people were talking about how fun this team is and how good this team is and how this could be the run with the supporting cast around Joel. Now, you've added 3 new pieces that can shoot the ball and score. One's a veteran champion, and now you don't want him back. That makes no sense to me. Okay,
I just think
outside the fact that if he's it's not rushing back. This was the plan all along. Because I'll say this to you.
Joel Embiid wouldn't do this if it's going to ruin his career or his life. I just don't believe that he would. He's not a dumb guy.
It was the timeline the whole time, good or bad or indifferent. Right? So if they were winning games right now on the same timeline, returning early April, people would be ecstatic. But same timeline, they look like shit. What's the point?
We knew they would look like shit. We should have known that. Like, it's Embiid, man. Like, and that's what I told you as well. Like, not only just getting him back, it was part of the plan, but you don't even have to ask him to come back and give you 35 a night like he was doing earlier this season, to your point. Like, guys are going to be so open that they won't know what to do with the floor spacing. Like, Buddy Hield will be the most open that he has ever been in his career, besides Joel Embiid. Like, that's the type of floor spacing. That's the type of attention that Embiid drags along with him. The double teams, the triple teams, having all set of eyes on your defense, having to watch Joel Embiid and what he does with the basketball. He could give you 25 and 10 a night, and that's going to make this team so much better from the defensive end, rebounding, and just having that number one option alongside Maxey, man. It makes the difference. And once again, just to kind of hone in on the major point, I do think the biggest point of bringing Joel Embiid back, obviously barring any risk to injury, we've already went over that several times here, it's to see what these guys look like next to him. You need to know what you're going into more specifically next season and what you need to do with the roster construction going forward. So, yeah, I agree with everything you said there. And why wouldn't you want to see Embiid, man? Anytime you got Embiid on the court, you have a chance. That's my true belief with Embiid's status in the NBA at this point. This team looks so shitty without Joel Embiid. It speaks to how great, how elite Joel Embiid really is.
Yeah,
and
exactly. And I think just
moving anytime I
forward
can have him, man.
in his
That
career,
straight up.
man, like obviously not talking about this season when it comes to awards, but like what's happening right now should speak volumes in future years when he's fighting for MVPs.
Agreed.
So just keep in mind the word valuable.
Yeah.
Like, please do me a favor, keep that word in mind.
I'm actually curious what their their legitimate record without Embiid right now is. I haven't looked.
I haven't looked at it. It's very, very bad. It's very, very bad. And it's Scotty. It's not just the fact that they're losing games. It's that
it's not just against good teams.
They can't score 98 points a game.
Yeah,
they're losing.
And this is against bad teams.
G League players and the Memphis Grizzlies at home. Like they've been bad, man. So we'll see. Big fella, continue to heal up, continue to progress, and obviously once he comes back, knock on wood, these shows might be a little more positive in the Sixers' direction
for sure.
Moving on, but sticking with some basketball here, man. March Madness, the best postseason around.
Yes.
The first weekend, obviously the first two rounds done. We're waiting for Thursday night to the Sweet 16, and it is a very, very chalky Sweet 16. Okay, you have 1-11 seed is your lowest seed. You have a 5 seed and you have a 6 seed. Everybody else, 2 5 seeds. Everybody else is a 1 through 4. And these are the matchups you want. Okay, so like I put this in the title. I started the show with this. Is a chalky Sweet 16, a chalky Elite 8, a chalky Final Four. And what I mean by chalky is the top seeds. It's chalk. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing? How do you feel about it? Because I've seen a lot of conversation on social media. This tournament sucks. It's not as fun. And Scott, I honestly could not disagree more. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's been almost one of the most perfect outcomes of an NCAA tournament.
You still got the upsets mixed in there too, right?
You got upsets. Okay.
Yeah.
You had 3 11 seeds beating 6 seeds, 2 12 seeds beat 5 seeds.
Yeah.
A 13 seeded Yale beat Auburn, a 14-seeded Oakland with a dude that no one's ever heard before, and Jack Golke knocking down double-digit threes, Klay Thompson-esque performance without putting the ball on the floor, and beating Kentucky in the first round. You've had overtime games. You had a double overtime game in the Creighton-Oregon matchup in the second round. You've had excitement, and you still get the best versus the best moving forward. You can't tell me you'd rather see another outcome besides Illinois versus Iowa State.
Like, you want James Madison versus Houston.
Right.
Or Texas A&M versus James Madison.
Did you want Duquesne versus Iowa State? Did you want Duquesne to upset Illinois? Did you want
I feel you, man. I think these matchups.
You have your Cinderella. You
got your 11 seed.
You have your 11 seed NC State with DJ Burns.
And it's a legit team, too, right? Like, NC State, it's an 11 seed, but they're from the ACC. Like, it is a decent team, a decent 11 seed, man. And they have a very interesting dynamic to their team with DJ Burns, man. So, I agree. These matchups are fun, man. Marquette and NC State
storylines that are lining up, bro. Like, you have a potential West matchup if these two teams, these two higher seeds pull away. You have a Caleb Love versus North Carolina matchup in the Elite 8 with a chance to go to the Final Four. This weekend, this is it Thursday, I guess? Is the UConn game or is it Friday? It's Thursday. Okay, Thursday night.
Yeah,
you have
Thursday.
a rematch of the national championship between UConn and San Diego State. You have two teams in Purdue and Tennessee in the same bracket who are known to choke, who are known to lose these big games. You have both of them with chances to get to the Elite Eight, and if they both do, one of them's getting to the Final Four.
One of them's got to get through.
You have everything you could possibly want, dude. Creighton, Tennessee is a great game. Purdue, Gonzaga, North Carolina, Alabama, Illinois, like they're all of them. Like NC State Marquette's going to be fun as shit to watch.
Let me ask you this: since we're on here, man, we're talking about it. What are your picks for this this round?
So oddly enough, I'm not doing so well in the bracket in terms of early rounds, but I'm trying to look here. All 8 of my Elite 8 are still involved, and I believe I have 13 of the 16 Sweet 16 in here. So I'm pulling for some bracket this weekend, all right?
Yeah.
I have UConn over San Diego State. I believe the spread's 10.5 or 11. I do think that's a little large for a San Diego State team that can play defense the way they do. Jaden Ledee's a monster.
But
dude, UConn, like, I was nervous before the tournament started that a lot of people I saw were on UConn, and it's like,
but they're so good.
Are they going to go back to back?
They do have a target on their back, though. They have a target on their back now with Hurley. I mean, they did anyways, being the national champions, but him opening his mouth recently,
he's
going to put a lot of heat on them.
But they're so complete. They're so dominant. They can beat you.
They can handle it.
Dude, they didn't even shoot well from 3, Scott. I think they hit like 3 total threes against Northwestern, and they ran them out of the gym. They can lock you down on defense. They can do whatever they want against you. Illinois, Iowa State, man.
That one's crazy.
These are two ends of the spectrum, right? I mean, you have Iowa State is the best defense. I think Houston's the best defense in college basketball, but they're top 2 regardless, right, for my money. Iowa State's one of the best defensive teams in the nation, and Illinois technically has the number 1 offense in the nation. Like 2 contrasting styles. Which one wins? I have no idea. I have Illinois in my Elite 8, so I'm going to stick with that pick.
I went with Illinois as well. I actually have this matchup. I did get this matchup right. I got the UConn San Diego State right.
And so I had Auburn, so I got screwed on the first day with that. But excuse me. I did have Auburn versus UConn. Excuse me. I didn't have San Diego State, so I was the same as you. But yeah, I got UConn. I got Illinois advancing. Then I had North Carolina. Yeah, I have UNC advancing as well, man. Bama plays no defense. Okay,
I had Arizona and Baylor, but obviously Baylor didn't make it.
Clemson confuses the hell out of me. I don't even know how they held on to win that game, but I have Arizona. I do have that storyline matching up with Caleb Love versus UNC.
Yeah, that's going to be a great one. It's bound to happen.
Yeah. I do have Marquette advancing past NC State. I'm probably rooting for NC State. I love DJ Burns, but I think that story's probably coming to an end. And then the last 3 matchups, bro, before I have no idea what to do here. I have Houston in my championship game against UConn. So technically, I have Houston winning. I'm rooting for Duke.
If you asked me before the tournament and before this last Duke game, and maybe it's false confidence, I would have, as a Duke fan, told you that Houston is no doubt going to beat Duke just because of their physicality, the defense, the maturity as well, right? The youth or lack of experience on Duke. But if they can come out and just shoot the ball, man, if Kyle Filipowski can be Kyle Filipowski and they can come out and shoot the ball like that between Proctor, McCain, and Roach, they can beat anybody in the country. But to that point, defense is consistent. Defense travels. Defense goes everywhere, and that is something that Houston does really well. So to say I'm nervous for that game is really underselling it. But I threw down $50 on the Blue Devils, man, to make the Elite Eight and beat Houston there. But it will be a tough one. Marquette and NC State, I agree. I think Marquette's going to take the cake there. So it'll be Marquette versus Houston or Duke for me. And then those last 2 games down there at the bottom.
I have no idea what to do with these last 2 games.
Creighton and Tennessee. I picked Tennessee in my bracket.
Yeah, so do I. I have Purdue and Tennessee matching up in my bracket as well. I don't know.
Purdue and Gonzaga, man.
I don't know.
Who does Gonzaga have for Edie? Like, who do they have? Like, do they have anything?
They have some size down low. They have some physicality down low. The interesting with Gonzaga is I think they can score with Purdue.
Yeah.
And
yeah, they've been putting up some pretty big numbers outside of St. Mary's.
86 and 89 in the 2 tournament games. Purdue's got 78 and 106. I think they can keep up with Purdue. And if you can do that, that's going to be the question mark, right?
Yeah.
What happens to one of these two teams, Tennessee and Purdue, when they're put in an uncomfortable situation?
Tough, tight situation.
When Gonzaga has Purdue on the ropes, they come back. It's a 2-point game with 2.5 minutes left. How does
when
Purdue
that pressure's mounting up on Purdue as frauds, right? Like the frauds of the tournament, the narratives.
Because, granted, congratulations, you won 2 games, but you're the 1 seed in the Sweet 16.
You're supposed to be.
Still not a run at all for a 1 seed. So
it's interesting.
The pressure to keep advancing is still there for Purdue, and not to choke this away. But the point of this was, you've got your drama. You've gotten some upsets. You've gotten overtime. Colorado hit a buzzer beater to beat Florida 102-100 in this first round. And you have your ideal matchups as the tournament progresses.
You still get those.
So you have what you're looking for. Last year, man, I'm sorry. Princeton in the fighting for a chance to go to the Elite Eight. The Sweet 16 is honestly where I draw the line for these teams to stop.
Yeah.
Because last year you had F8, it was a great run, man. But one of the Final Four games was San Diego State versus Florida Atlantic.
Yeah.
That's not what I want to watch. And don't get me wrong, it was a good game. San Diego State hit a shot with 0.2 seconds left to go to the national championship.
This is our only opportunity to get matchups like a Houston versus Duke or a Clemson versus Arizona versus UNC. These are the stages where you get those matchups.
Absolutely.
So we don't need to see, a James Madison or an FAU coming through and mushing it up. It's fun. It's great for that school. It's great for the tournament and the variety. I do agree there, but when you get to the thick of it, man, you want to see these blue bloods, these top dogs squaring off
for the first round or so.
That Illinois Iowa State
game, help your boys out a little bit, bro. To help that hat out, people got to stop with this Duke rumor, and you're talking blue bloods. You need to focus that to another school that wears a similar blue, okay? Because Duke hasn't lost in the first round or two, I believe, since 2015 or something like that.
I remember.
Meanwhile, Kentucky's gone home on the first day in 2 of the last 2 years, or 3 of the last 4 years. That's where you need to focus your taunting to a little bit.
Let's talk about legendary head coach Bill Self and what he's talking about on his exit press conference, right? He's talking about next year and how this team wasn't ready. Dude, you're the coach.
Yeah.
You're the coach, my man. I do agree. It's funny. Duke does get pinpointed as the fraud, right? Ever since Coach K left, specifically with John Shire. But I think John Shire's done great. And the thing I feel like people have to do right now with Duke is you rain on the parade now. You rain on it now. You do what you got to do. You hope that they lose against Houston and don't make the Elite Eight with this squad, because you know what's coming next year, man. I mean, I know we don't move. I don't want to sound like Bill Self, but when you look at next year and you see who's coming in, I mean, it's a little exciting. But no, I to that point, I still think Duke,
and also
they can keep their heads right. They can win this tournament for all my money.
It's no secret that
Duke
is probably the most hated college basketball team in the nation.
They got it.
But those same people, what they'll do, right? If Duke beats Houston, but they lose in the final, they go to the Final Four and lose in the Final Four to Tennessee or something, those people are still going to be out there Duke choked. Brother, they weren't supposed to make the Final Four. You realize that, right? They're Duke, but this year they were not supposed to get to the Final Four heading into the tournament. And those same people will still be there trying to troll how they lose and if they lose. But
it is funny, man.
It is crazy, man. I know we got to get off
water
here
go down the road.
There you go. In a few minutes. The last thing I'll ask you, man, I had this conversation over the weekend. Don't die on me over here. You good?
Got water coming to my eyes. I'm going out bad right here, but no, I'll survive at least till Friday when Duke.
Yeah. Last thing here, man, before we get you on out of here. It's kind of been announced. Like I don't think it's been like officially announced.
Seen in a couple different places though.
The rumor out there, and I believe it was from Todd Chalky, basically stated that Johan Rojas will be the opening day center fielder for the Phillies. And there's also another report that Pache was still fighting for a last bench spot, a last roster spot.
Interesting,
with Cody Clemens, I believe the other player was. The Johan Rojas thing. I had this conversation over the weekend with a couple of different people, and it made me calm down a little bit on it, but I'm still hesitant to just mark this kid as the center fielder right now today. Yeah. So Johan Rojas is nowhere near a major league bat at the moment, or so it seems, right? And when you look at it from that standpoint, like you can't have an automatic out. Like we've seen it in the postseason. It doesn't matter if he's hitting ninth. Yeah. You just can't have a guy come to the plate in a meaningful moment, runners on first and third, 2 outs in the 6th inning, and he has to bat because he's the only option right now. You can't have that on your roster. And if he's going to improve at the plate, he has to get every day at bats. So that's either up here where he continues to go through growing pains, or he has to be sent back down to play every day. And when you think he's ready, you bring him back up for another try. But the other edge of it, right? And you and I kind of had this conversation. I thought, he's not that much better. There are people that think he's the best center fielder defensively in baseball. And if he's that good, if he's that talented,
how do we even know that, man? Like, how do you know?
I know he's played like 2 months, 3 months, but anyway, if he is, can you get away with it? And my uncle had pointed out to me when we were going on championship runs, and hell, I even think maybe not the World Series year, but maybe 2010 when he was still around. Yeah. Carlos Ruiz was hitting like 8th or 9th for this team, and I believe he was hitting like 220, like Chooch was a non-factor at the plate, and they were still making runs. But he was Chooch. He was the best defensive catcher in baseball. He was going to play. The Cardinals. Yeah. I mean, not that the Cardinals, are winning much, but Yadier Molina at one point is like a barely above the Mendoza line batter, but he's the best defensive catcher in the game. He's going to play every day. Yeah. The question I'm having internally is, can you get away with it? Yeah. If he's that much of an X factor in the field, the speed, it's all there. If he's that much of a difference maker defensively, can you get away with a 200 or sub 200 guy in a lineup when you're trying to compete for a World Series? I don't know.
I guess my biggest thing would be, why do we have to risk it? Like, why do we have to kind of play this like high risk game? Like it shouldn't be this. You should be able to get somebody that supplements the situation for this roster that's trying to compete for a championship. At the end of the day, if you think that Rojas is the best outfielder in the MLB, potentially, right? There's no way you could know that at this point, but potentially you feel that way. Then sure, I guess you can throw him out there. Like you said, you get the every day at bats. You get the experience. You hope that he can just improve in the box and continue to show his starlight out in the field. But, man, I guess for me, like, I guess you have to name a starter just so defiantly, Johan Rojas. Like, I guess I don't get it. Like, he's that much better of a fielder than Christian Pache? He is? Like, you would know before me. Like, I
don't know that. Yes. Like, I think he is.
Like, that much better.
But I don't know what to make of it. Like, I do believe that he is, and I do believe people are right when they think he has that much upside defensively. But dude, there are people, I swear to God, like, it's on the radio, it's on Twitter, like, you can go read about it. There are people that are saying he's one of the best defensive center fielders ever.
Are these
ever.
people that follow the team and are at the practice and at spring like, are these the people that are saying
around the team? I would assume like that, dude.
like maybe they're seeing something at practice that we're just not
I don't know,
seeing?
man. I do truly believe that it, like, with him in the field, it is a drastic difference.
Yeah.
Me personally, from a winning standpoint, in my eye test, I can't excuse it. I can't excuse it over the bat.
Yeah.
Like that's just how I would build my.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, do you think this is the best route for this Phillies team?
No, I don't. And people, people are going to disagree with that. Some people might agree with that. And I don't even like, what is Chris? That's the other side of the coin, right?
Yeah, what is
Christian
he?
Pache had a good spring. If Christian Pache turns out to be mush at the plate in the regular season against Spencer Strider, against Max Fried, against Chris Sale, well then F it. Then Rojas, you just go with the defense.
That is the other side of it,
man. Like
because I'm not asking.
I promise you guys, man, the same people that are so on board with the glove. There's going to come a time in the NLCS, in the NLDS, runners in scoring position,
just like last year,
5, and he's got to come to the dish, batting a 118 in the postseason, and people are going to be freaking out on Rob Thompson because he's coming to the plate. No, you're the ones. You're the ones that want it. Now, maybe he surprises me at the plate. Maybe Pache stinks at the plate. Maybe it's the only alternative you can go. But I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point to kind of like end at. We'll obviously dive into the Phillies tomorrow as the season's approaching. We'll get into expectations for this season. But when you look at the Rojas situation, I guess at the end of the day, Rob Thompson, Dave Dombrowski, I'll trust the process for a better sense of words. I'll trust them because they've been able to lead us to great places the last few years. They've been able to overhaul this roster and turn it into a World Series contender within the last 3 years or so, starting with Bryce Harper back a few years longer than that. But I'll trust them in this situation with what they want to do, because I do see the other side as you just posed. It's not that we're asking for Christian Pache to come up and be an everyday starter out in the field either. He's not good enough to be that either. So I guess you do take the Rojas upside and you roll with that. You try to build the confidence and consistency with him out in center field and at the plate, and you just go from there, because you don't want to be going back and forth, right? Like, you don't want to confuse these young guys and mess up their chemistry with the team and their chemistry within the rotation. So I do get it to an extent. You just got to trust it.
I will ask this, and again, I'm giving credit. I'm not just trying to steal anybody's idea.
Yeah.
But I did see the new Andrew Staltrinas and John Kincaid show on 97.5 The Fanatic. I saw a clip of theirs on Instagram, and I thought it would be a fun talking point. So obviously tomorrow, come back, 9:30. Scotty and I are going to be here giving kind of our Philly season kickoff show to get you guys ready. Bring your questions, bring your comments, bring your thoughts. But we're going to come up with a bunch of fun topics to open up this season. But they did bring up a very interesting point when we're discussing the teams in this city. Why do we view the Phillies differently? And I'm one of the people that do it. I'm one of the people that are
what do you mean?
The Phillies quite literally choked away a trip to the World Series. And not 10 seconds after they choked it away, we were looking forward to this Thursday. We were looking forward to next year and what they're going to do next year and blah, blah, blah. But the Eagles do what they did. The Eagles have a Super Bowl in the last 5 years. The Eagles do what they did, and we have to heal. We can't trust them. We have to do. Why do we view teams differently? Like the Sixers, we have no trust or faith in the Sixers, and I mean rightfully so.
Yeah.
But we view them in a different landscape than we do the Phillies. So I'm one of the people that do it. I'm one of the people that can't wait for this weekend. I'm one of the people that can't wait for this season, and I truly believe this team is a World Series contender. But they did choke away a trip to the World Series on their home field last year, and we utterly forgave it immediately.
My short answer to that, I think, with just baseball, and I think partly just because it's like the weather getting nice. The spring's coming around, the weather's getting nice.
My answer was going to be the fact that immediately following these collapses, one team gave a shred of accountability and was pissed off at themselves and immediately turned the page to the goal was getting back and how we had to be better. And the other team played dumb, like they didn't know why they were being booed and why their coach might be fired and why they're being yelled at. Why they're being yelled at.
I think the Phillies are they're one mishap short of becoming like that Sixer-esque. They're not Sixers, and they're not going to become that because the Sixers have not been able to get past the second round.
Right.
So that's like their own caveat for the Sixers. I do think they're one more collapse, like a Diamondbacks collapse, right? Like you made it to the NLCS, you got there, but you should have beaten the Diamondbacks, right? Like you should have gotten back to the World Series.
Or they lose in 4 to the Braves this year in the NLDS.
And then you take a step back.
And we go,
That's
you had those opportunities, and now the Braves core is locked in just as much as the Phillies core is.
The only difference is, well, I don't want to get into it too much today, but
and I'm also not trying to bring a negative feel into tomorrow because I'm The thing I would say though, uberly excited for
the Phillies will go out of their way to overcorrect, and I think they have the means to do so. Middleton will go out. If they flounder out and lose to the Braves in like the first round this year, they will go out and they will spend big to try to improve this roster again.
I think this could be a very interesting deadline for the Phillies as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Again, I didn't mean
you don't need to jump to that yet, though.
But it is a thing. Like we do talk about them in a completely different.
I think management and ownership. I think that's part of it too, man. Middleton has shown that he wants this team to win something big.
Yeah.
And I think that type of buy-in from ownership
go get my fucking trophy.
Gets us to buy in. Same thing with Jeffrey Lurie. I get like the reception, but I think the Eagles maybe are just on like a different plane of expectation as well. But we'll talk about that tomorrow, man.
Yeah,
be fun.
Definitely interesting. But come back, hang out with us tomorrow morning. Bring a friend, tell a friend, subscribe.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate each and every one of you. For myself, for Scotty, have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Peace, everybody.